Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on this third in a series of videos of building a do-it-yourself bass guitar kit. In this video, I'm going to be going over the staining process of the body and how to figure out how to drill that hole for the bridge and for the ground. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so, excuse me. The body's been completely filled with wood grain, been sanded down, um, and it's now ready for the next step, which is going to be the staining part. Now, I know I mentioned that I was initially going to try and keep it a natural color and just go with the natural wood of it, or the natural color of the wood. But I changed my mind. I wanted something a little more with a little more character than just the natural color of it. Not that there was anything wrong with it, but I just wanted something different. And so I went back and forth looking for different stains and things, what I wanted to do. Now, once again, I wanted to kind of go in an easier route, and I decided to just go with regular furniture wood stain, which is fine for something like this, not a big deal. There are specially formulated or I guess specially designed dyes and stains for guitars that you can get through like Stuart McDonald and other websites. If you want to go with a really unique color, let's say you want to go with purple or blue or green or even a yellow, you can get those specially formulated from Stuart McDonald, but boy, they're pricey for what they are. I mean, and you're looking at $30 probably with tax and everything and shipping for, say, a bottle about so big. Um, and I'm not sure if you water it down. I'm not sure if it's a concentrate or really what it is. I didn't want to go that route. Okay, I went with the route of this. I decided to go with. In fact, let me kind of zoom in a little bit. Um, this is just standard Minwax wood finish stain, and I went with the Gunstock color. Um, once you kind of decide what kind of stain or what kind, I guess really signs on the color. Um, but once I decided I was going to go with the Minwax, um, I started looking at all the colors and I started to drive myself crazy because some were just too brown. In fact, one of them I was looking at, and I kind of tested on a 2x4. Not that it'd be perfect, but um, I initially did something with a red oak, and this is what it looked like. It's just brown, in fact. Um, Not sure how well you can see that, but yeah, it's just a brown. And yeah, it didn't do much for me. So then I looked some more and found the gunstock color, which is more in lines like this. And I really liked it. I think it's gonna look really nice. So anyway, getting back now, the guitar is all prepped. Wood grain is filled. It's been sanded down. The next step is staining it. Now, to make my life a little easier, I got some stain, put in one of these little disposable bowls, just because I need something larger. Now, I'm of the opinion of you don't need to use a brush when applying stain. I think it's better if you just kind of hand rub it in with a bonnet. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to actually make a bonnet my own. In fact, hold on for 1 second. I bought a bag of disposable rags like this. Once again, you can get these at the local big box hardware store. Really good pricing. This cost me like $8, and there's 30 bags or 30 rags in them, and they're lint free. I didn't have to tear up any of my t-shirts, and so far they've been working great for the uses that I needed. So I'm gonna make my own bonnet. I'm taking one of the squares and kind of placing it right here in the middle, and then just kind of draping this up by the corners like so, doing kind of semi-twist. And then what I'm going to do is I'm taking a cable tie, a wire tie, and I'm just going to wrap it around like this, and just kind of tighten it up. you go. That's going to be my staining bonnet. So yeah, so let's go. Let's do it. Now beforehand, it looks like it's still pretty well mixed. Beforehand, shook this up, really gave it a good shaking. A lot of the chemicals or a lot of the dyes, I guess, can settle down into the bottom. So you want to give this a really good shake so it's thoroughly mixed. And yeah, let's give it a go. Now, you want this thing wet. I mean, wet, wet, wet. You want to go in the direction of the grain. And depending on how deep of a color you want to just let it sit for maybe 5 to even 15 minutes on this thing. And this is the wiping stain. So put on a good liberal amount. Like I said, go with the grain. Make sure it penetrates. And that is it. In fact, I always seem to forget this part. Because this is a stain, and because I jumped the gun, again, forgot my gloves. I did pretty good though. I didn't get too much on me. A little bit here, but that'll wear off eventually. But yeah, there you go. So let's give it, I'm going to give it about 5 minutes. You can always put on another coat after about, I think 4 hours is what it said. Follow the manufacturer's instructions. I believe fully dry takes about 8 to 12 hours. For a recoat, it's 4 to 6 hours. But I'm going to, initially what I'm going to do is it's all wet right now. As you can see, I'm going to let it go for about 5 minutes and we'll come back and I'm going to wipe off the residue and then there you go. Okay. So it's been about 5 minutes. We'll see how this goes. So I'm going to get another clean rag and fold like so. And remember the gloves this time. So let's see what we have. And one of the things with stain is you don't want it to just, you want to put a lot on, but you don't want it to just sit and pool and let it dry, because what you'll have is you'll have kind of weird uneven spots. Might be a little more blotchy. You want a nice even tone. And there you go. Yeah, there you go. And I gotta say, yeah, I like the color. Yeah, that totally works for me. Try and bring it in a little bit, give you a rough idea. But yeah, this totally works. So now I'm gonna let it dry completely. Almost seems dry now just from wiping it, but I know it's not. It's just a kind of an illusion. But yeah, I'm just going to let it go now. I'm probably going to let it dry 4 to 6 hours. Yeah, I'll let it go for about 4 to 6 hours. I got things to do anyway. And yeah, and if, depending on what it looks like, once it really finishes and dries, I may do a second application just to make it a little deeper. But just initially from the get-go, I really like it. I really like the color. In regards to your bonnet, you can either just toss it. I'm going to keep this, actually. I think what I'm going to do is just wrap this up in a bag so it doesn't dry out. And, we'll go from there. So, anyway. Yeah. So, see you in a few hours. Okay. Another thing that just occurred to me. we're working with an oil-based, solvent-based materials, stain and the polyurethane. When I get to it, one of the things I just kind of realized is these things can combust, or self-combust, whatever the term is. So I'm throwing this out there as a disclaimer. That way I'm not responsible for anyone's house burning down. But with things like this, I do want to reuse it. I am putting it in a bag, but I'm going to try and squeeze most of the air out of it. In fact, let's kind of zip it. Because the last thing you want is anything to self-combust. And so what I'm going to do, there I got a good majority of the air out of it. Probably get a little bit more. Because what happens is this stuff can oxidize and mixes with oxygen and air, and the next thing you know, poof. You don't want instantaneous combustion happening in your workshop. So even now, it's sealed, a lot of the air is out of it. I'm still going to just put it on my concrete floor. So if anything was to happen in the next 4 to 6 hours, I don't think anything will, but if it was, it'll just happen in the middle of my concrete floor and I'm not worried about it. But yeah, let's just talk real quick about disposing of your materials. Like I said, we're working with solvent-based, oil-based products. And so, yeah, you want to dispose of your rags and things properly. And so what I'm going to do once I am really done with the staining, and even once I'm done with my wipe-on polyurethane that I'm going to use, I'm going to lay them out flat. So that way they can completely dry. Once they're completely dry, you're fine. You don't have to worry about it. But if they're balled up and still wet, and if it mixes with any, I guess even with sanding dust, sanding residue, things can happen, like I said. So throwing this out there, follow the manufacturer's instructions and directions of how to dispose stuff. Because I don't want to be held liable in case your place burns down because of any advice I might have given. Use common sense, use your head. So anyway, with that, I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so the Tar Stain came out really well. I like it. I might go over it one more time. It seems like there's a few light spots. But overall, I like it. I really like the color. Yeah, I'm down with it. The next thing I'm going to do before I get too far ahead of myself for certain things is, as I've mentioned in other videos, I didn't get a ground hole cut into mine. And so, let me just kind of show you. Actually, I marked a little dot on where I'm going to drill. What you need to have is, when you have your electronics hooked up, this is the ground wire for everything. And what it's supposed to do is supposed to pass through a hole that's in this cavity and come out right about here. And then what happens is you place your bridge over that, it'll ground the guitar. Otherwise, there's something called a 60-second or 60-cycle hum. Not really feedback, but it's just an annoying hum that you'll have until you hold your strings and you ground out. And I was thinking of different ways of how I was going to go about this, because it still kind of makes me a little nervous of drilling in diagonally and stuff. But I do have the proper bit, a nice long 1/8 inch bit. And at one point I thought about maybe trying to come through this way, coming straight down the center of this thing and then drilling down. I don't think that'll work for what I want to do, though. You know, as they say, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And so I think I'm just going to go that, bite the bullet and just go for it. And so since I've taken you guys on this journey so far, I figure, well, I might as well bring you along for this ride as well. So with that, yeah, I think we're going to go for it. I'm going to get this thing set up. And like I said, I'm going to take it down gradually. Hit it right about there. And I'm just going to gradually go down with a series of short bursts on the drill till I get probably right about there. And then I'm just going to try and bore straight through and hoping that I will catch it just the right spot and just the right angle. So yeah, so here we go. Now what I'm going to do is I have my drill with a 1/8 inch bit already. I'm going to do the smaller holes first. And then once I get to an angle that I'm comfortable with, then I'm going to switch it out with the longer bit. And yeah, so we'll give that a shot. So let me make sure everything's in frame. And yeah, in fact, let me see. Hold on. I'm going to take you guys for a ride. I'm going to put you there so you can get a better idea of what I'm going through. So here goes nothing. And with that, don't worry if it looks a little gnarly, a little ugly, because it's going to be covered by the bridge anyway. So I'm not too worried about that. My biggest concern is just going through the back of this damn thing. But really, I guess even if that was the case, I have the timber mate to where I could probably fix it, and just always know there's going to be a gnarly little hole there. So okay, so here goes nothing. I'm going to move you guys to a different angle. Let's see if that's a little better. I think my hand was kind of getting in the way. Let's try that. Okay, well, that's a good sign. How much more do I have to go? Right about there. Okay. Well, that answered that question, didn't it? Well, let's stay tuned for this. I gotta reevaluate. So, where I last left off, I mentioned that I had to reevaluate because I did what I was afraid I was going to do, and that is I drilled through the backside. And then I tried it again, as you can see here, and what'd you know? I did that again. So, you know, the whole adage is if you don't succeed, try again. Well, third time was a charm. I really got low. I mean, I really brought that thing really low and diagonal. Thus, another third hole. And I got it. Let me see if I can bring it in. I'm not sure if I can get it. You might be able to see it. It's going to be that hole right there. And it's actually adjacent to the pickup hole for the wires for the pickup. So it's adjacent right there. And so I got it. There's really no alternate way. In fact, you might even be able to see, I thought about coming through here, but that just wasn't going to work either. And as I mentioned before, hey, you know, good old Timbermate. So I filled the holes with Timbermate, sanded it down, let it dry, sanded it down. And, you know, I said I was going to stain this thing again or put one last coat of stain on it anyway. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to finish up putting a stain on it and let it dry overnight and go from there. And was a little disheartening, yeah, a little bit, but you know, once again, this just adds character to it. But I will say, I'll give you one caveat. If you buy one of these kits and it doesn't have the pre-drilled hole for your bridge ground, contact the manufacturer and return it, because you don't want to go through what I went through. Yeah, I got lucky finally and did it, but it was frustrating. It was actually even a little stressful because you don't want to make this thing a bunch of Swiss cheese or have a bunch of termite holes through it. But overall, I'm okay with it. Like I said, if anything, it'll look like a couple of wormholes or something. It'll add a little more character. Plus, it's on the back side, so it's not really going to be seen other than really by me or someone checking it out. As I mentioned, the ugliness of these holes right here, once again, not a big deal because you're going to have your bridge covering. Let's pretend this is a bridge. You know, your bridge plate's going to be covering it anyway, so it's not going to be seen. So, you know, no harm, no foul. Like I said, was it kind of a pain in the ass? Yes, it was definitely a pain in the ass. But you know what? Wires are for it. We learn from our mistakes. So I'm just going to give this another quick sand, make sure everything's good and kosher. Give it another coat, and we'll be good to go. Okay, one last little thing, one last addendum to this video, and this will be it for this series, or for this one particular video in the series. You know, I was talking about combustion and all that stuff, and you're working with stains and oil-based product. This is what I do. Once I'm done with them, I let them dry on the concrete. And then once they're dry, you can toss them. And they're not going to pose any risk or anything. Just make sure they're thoroughly dry. before you throw them away. Otherwise, you can't have instantaneous combustion because of these products. Google it, check it out yourself. But yeah, so that's my disclaimer when working with this stuff, because you don't want to have any fires. I mean, this is supposed to be a fun project, not supposed to have craziness ensue. So anyway, there you go. See you next video.